Hi everyone, this is DM Thinker here again. Today, I'm going to talk about one of the most important parts about Dungeons & Dragons, and that's learning how to get started. Today, we'll talk about how to get started as a player or a DM if you've never played before and don't know anyone else who plays. Maybe you've always been interested in D&D, but none of your friends play and you don't have any idea where to start. Or maybe you've played D&D-based video games or read Forgotten Realms or Dragonlance books but want to experience the actual dice game. Maybe you've even played a while back in an earlier edition or in a different system entirely and you want to try playing 5th edition. If you've heard about Dungeons & Dragons but haven't ever seen anyone play, the first thing you should do is find out if it's something you think you might like. The best way to do this is to watch a group play. Let's assume you don't personally know anyone who plays. There are a few options depending on where you live and your comfort level around strangers, which is especially important to think about during COVID. The first and probably easiest is to watch a streamed game like Critical Role or Acquisitions Incorporated. Critical Role is a bit more serious, while Acquisitions Incorporated is a bit more goofy. I'll put a link to each of them in the description so you can check them out. Both games are really well done, and they actually get better as they go along. It's still best to start with Episode 1 if possible, because it won't make as much sense if you just jump in late in the campaign. Plus, Critical Role especially has incredibly high production quality later on that can skew your perspective on what D&D is like. All the players and the DM in Critical Role are professional actors and voice actors, so their roleplay is incredibly good. Many of the players in Acquisitions Incorporated are also professionals, and the team's been creating content for almost 15 years. If you expect your game to have a DM like Matt Mercer or players like Will Wheaton, you're probably going to be disappointed. Instead, think of it as playing out a choose-your-own-adventure novel with a bunch of your friends. Another option is to watch a less professional streamed game on Twitch. There are too many to possibly name, and you should try a bunch of different ones to see how they differ. If you go to twitch.tv, you'll usually see several live games running, especially in the evening. Most will only have a handful of viewers, and these can be a better example of what a real D&D game is like. You could also go to your local gaming store and see if there are groups playing there. The kinds of stores that might have D&D are often referred to online as FLGS, for Friendly Local Gaming Store, so try using that in your internet searches. Two good places to start are gamma.org and findaflgs.com. The official D&D website also has a search page for these at locator.wizards.com. Call or visit one of the stores and ask the employees if there's a day and time when groups are playing D&D that you're hoping to watch. If you tell them you've never played and are hoping to see how it works, they'll probably be very happy to try to help. Okay, you watched a game session, or several, and you decided you want to play. Great! Now you have 4 options for how to actually start playing. Option 1. The lowest commitment option is to ask your friendly local gaming store if they have an Adventurers League night. Adventurers League is an official campaign created by Wizards of the Coast, and most gaming stores have sessions every few weeks or even more often. These are prepackaged adventures that are intended to last just an hour or two and don't require the players to know each other ahead of time. The store will usually convince, cajole, or bribe local players to act as the DM or Dungeon Master. They'll be running the game, and all you have to do is show up with your character and some dice, which you should purchase from the friendly local gaming store. If you search for Adventurers League online, you'll find the official page on the D&D website. You'll want to find the link to the Adventurers League Season Player's Guide. I'll link to the current season's guide, which is Season 10. But if you're watching this video later, you'll need to find the current season. The Player's Guide will give you an overview of how Adventurers League works, and will also give you a link to the free basic rules, which will get you started on making your first character. In fact, even if you never go to Adventurers League, just reading the basic rules and making a character is a good start to understanding how the game works. Option 2. Look for groups advertising for players at your friendly local gaming store. There will often be flyers on the walls by groups looking for a player or two. You can also ask the employees if they know of any groups looking. This can be a good way to learn and get to play, but it can also be a crapshoot because you don't know any of the personalities of the players ahead of time, and it's hard to know if you'll mesh well with them. If a group is looking specifically for brand new players, that's a better option because everyone, except the DM, will likely be new and still learning. It's a lot harder to be an insufferable rules lawyer when you don't know any of the rules. Option 3. Similar to looking for a group in person, you can look for a group on one of the online platforms. Roll20 is the easiest for new players and has the most robust forum for people looking for groups. I'll post a link to the LFG forum. This stands for Looking for Group, and usually means a DM or a group is looking for one or more people to play. LFP stands for Looking for Player, and often means there is a DM and some players already who just need one more person. Lastly, LFD or LFDM is Looking for Dungeon Master, which is a group of players who are hoping to find someone to run a campaign for them. There are typically a lot more players than there are DMs, so you have to be patient and persistent when trying to find a group. There are more and more groups who pay the DM a nominal amount of money per session to run their campaign, so you can see how skewed the supply and demand is. You're welcome to pay for a DM, but I wouldn't recommend it for your first game, just because you don't really know yet what you do or don't like in a DM or a game. I've actually seen that the best option can be to find someone else who's brand new and looking for a group and reply to their post on Roll20 that you're also brand new and hoping to play for the first time. If that post can get a critical mass of 3 to 4 brand new players, a DM will sometimes swoop in, take pity on everyone, and decide to run a game or a campaign. Sometimes it may just be a short game to help everyone learn to play, so this may not be a long-term commitment. And just like in-person blind grouping, the mix of personalities can be a crapshoot. But your goal for any of the above options should be to learn how the game works, at least at a basic level. Learn what the DM does, and maybe make a new friend or two. You shouldn't expect the first random group you join to be one where everyone is perfect friends and the campaign lasts for years. If it does, great. If not, at least you're on the path to knowing how to play. Maybe you've tried some of the above options and they didn't work, or you don't live near a gaming store, or you just feel awkward about trying to join random strangers. That's okay. There's one more option, and I think it's actually the best. Option 4. Start your own group. Get the starter set from your local store, which is a bare-bones set of materials to get you started. The starter set's about $20 and has a shortened version of the rules to be a dungeon master and a shortened version of the rules to be a player. It has a pre-built adventure that can get you from level 1 to level 5. It also has 5 already created characters that you and your friends can use, and 1 set of dice that you share. It's made for about 4 to 5 players and a DM, but you can play with as few as 2 or 3 players and a DM. So if you can convince, cajole, or bribe 2 of your friends or relatives into trying it out, you're ready to go. One of you has to be the DM, but it's not as hard with this opening adventure, which is made to be simpler for both you and the players. If you like it and want to try just one step up in complexity, you can get the Essentials Kit, which is about $25 and includes another short adventure and all the rules to play and to make your own characters, so that you aren't using pre-made characters. This even has rules for a group of just 1 player and 1 DM, so you only need to find 1 other person to use this one. Once you've decided you like D&D and want to play the full version, you'll need 3 books: the Dungeon Master's Guide, the Monster Manual, and the Player's Handbook. These are a bit more expensive, but your players can share the handbook, and the group could split the cost of all the books so that no one is paying more. Players should read through the parts of the handbook that have races, classes, and backgrounds, and start choosing what their character will be. The DM should start reading through some of the Dungeon Master's Guide, though you definitely don't need to read it all right away. The most important thing for players to understand is that the DM is the referee, and their word is final, at least in the moment. You can all hash out arguments for why someone should be able to do something or how a rule works later on after the game. The most important thing for the DM to understand is that you're the referee and the storyteller. You aren't competing against the players. As the referee, it would be super easy for you to win since you interpret the rules. It would be like a judge arguing against a defendant in a trial. One last tip. If you're starting your own group, you should hold a session 0 with your friends or family members before you start playing. This is a place for you to discuss what type of game it will be. Is it going to be serious medieval fantasy or goofy Monty Python style questing? Can the players be evil or not? Where do you stand on romance, brutality, and how religion is treated? Are there elements like violence against innocents or racism that are too dark or hit too close to home for anyone? You might even talk about if you want to be able to swear. It may seem like these things are obvious, but talking about them ahead of time can help avoid awkwardness and hurt feelings later. Plus, it's a good way to get everyone in the habit of communicating about their feelings and what they want out of the game. If something isn't working for them later on, this may help them talk about it instead of just quitting the group. These are some of the best ways to start playing D&D, especially if you don't know anyone in your life that's already playing. Please like and subscribe if you found this helpful, and put any questions in the comments and I'll be happy to answer them. Thanks for watching.